Minasan, konnichiwa. This week in Japan is a time known as Golden Week. So we're going to learn a little bit about Golden Week, and I'm going to tell a story and show you how to do origami for making a samurai hat and also how to make mochi. So Golden Week is called Golden week because it's essentially a week-long holiday that people in Japan get because there are several holidays that all align with one another. So we're going to first go over what each of those holidays are, and then we'll go on to the story. So, 休日は holiday. 休日は昭和の日と憲法記念日と緑の日と子供の日です。まずは昭和の日。昭和の日は4月29日です。憲法記念日は5月3日です。緑の日は5月4日です。そして子供の日は5月5日です。まずは昭和の日。昔々、昭和の日はヒロヒト天皇 Emperor Hirohito のお誕生日でした。But now that's changed, so it's no longer a holiday celebrating his birthday. Instead, it's called Showa no Hi because Showa was the name of the era in when he was an emperor. And so it's a holiday of public reflection on the turbulent 63 years of Hirohito's reign as an emperor. So it's not about glorifying him as an emperor or because good things happened, but also some bad things happened. So major events during his reign as emperor include the invasion of Manchuria, that's basically modern-day China, attempted government coups within Japan, so there were a lot of unrest going on in Japan, and living in Japan was very difficult. It was a very militant place, and so people tried to fight back, and whenever they tried to fight back, they often were killed or thrown in prison. During this time is also when World War II happened. And after World War II was the post-war occupation by America, where America basically controlled Japan. So those are considered kind of the bad things. The good things are during this time period were the 1964 Summer Olympics and Paralympics. So similar to how they were meant to have the 2020 Olympics this year, but now it's been shifted to next year. And also what's known as the Japanese post-war economic miracle. So you can see this is a picture from the Hiroshima Peace Memorial, and on the left is a picture of what Hiroshima used to look like, and then on the right is what Hiroshima looked like after the attacks from America. So this is during World War II, and Hiroshima is one of the most famous places that we know of for being attacked during World War II in Japan. However, Allied forces were attacking Japan in more than just Hiroshima and Nagasaki. They were firebombing Tokyo and all kinds of major cities. So this is an example, but most of Japan ended up looking like this on the right side, where there's very few buildings left standing and everything is just either blown apart or was burned away, because most buildings back then in Japan were made from wood. So all they did was just firebomb buildings, and the fire would spread and often wipe out the entire city. So this was a very difficult time. A lot of Japanese people lost their homes and they lost their income, and so they were very poor. And this continued on after the war ended. You can see these are on the left side, people lining up for food rations to collect rice and things like that. And then on the right, a big problem because of the fire bombings and the bombings overall, where there were a lot of orphans. And so children had to kind of take care of their younger siblings if they survived. So it was a very difficult time. There's a Japanese movie called Grave of the Fireflies. It's an anime. And so if history interests you and you're interested in seeing World War II from more of a Japanese perspective, a Japanese civilian perspective, I really recommend this movie. But the reason it's post-war economic miracle is because you'll see in 1940, which is around when the trouble was beginning, you can see that the Japanese economy was doing very well, and then it suddenly plummets down. This is after the war. You can see the American economy went way up. So the Japanese economy sunk really far down. A lot of people were suffering, and there was a lot of poverty. But it's called the miracle because in a very short time frame, so about from 1950 until 1980 or so, Japan had a huge growth. Within 30 years, they had an enormous growth, and they were suddenly the second largest economy in the entire world, with only the United States being larger than that, which is really astounding considering that there are a lot of European countries that used to be in that position and they were displaced by Japan. So that's why it's called the post-war economic miracle. Nowadays, Japan is not the second largest anymore. China has overtaken them, but Japan manages to still stay in at number 2 or number 3, which is still really, really impressive considering that Japan, the entire country, is about the same size as California. So you have two of the biggest countries, the United States and China, and then a really, really tiny country that's still able to have a huge economy and a huge impact on the world economy, being Japan. The second day is the Constitution Memorial Day, or Kenpo Kinenbi. Kenpo Kinenbi is a day of reflection on democracy and Japanese government. And what is really honoring is the day that the Japanese Constitution after World War II was ratified. So after World War II, American military came in and they took over the Japanese government, forced them to write a new constitution, and in their constitution, they created what's known as Article 9. Article 9 is the most famous part of the constitution for Japan because it outlaws war. So that makes it illegal in Japan to have war as a way of settling international disputes. Modern day Japanese people overall are very proud of being the only country in the world that has outlawed being able to go to war, but it doesn't come without its controversy. And this is also why Japan is still dependent on America for protection because they can't initiate any attacks, and so they can only defend themselves within their own territory. And where they're located, being so close to North Korea and having not the best connections with North Korea, they depend on the US and other countries to help them. Next is Midori no Hi. Hopefully you remember that Midori means green. So this is Greenery Day. This is a day to just appreciate and protect nature, like planting trees, picking up litter. It's similar to Arbor Day in the US. And then the last one is 5月5日, which is Kodomo no Hi. This is the main event. This is the day that people really care about. So Kodomo no Hi used to be called Boys' Day, but now it's been changed to a more gender-neutral term. So it celebrates both boys and girls. You remember back in March, we celebrated Girls' Day, and that's still only a day for girls, but now Kodomo no Hi is for all children. So the usual decorations that you see for Kodomo no Hi are koinobori, which are carp streamers. So koi means carp, and gogatsu ningyo, which are like samurai dolls and things that are very masculine in appearance, like tigers and horses and swords, drums, things like that. Ningyo means doll. And of course, you have tabemono, food that they eat during this time. So we're going to talk about 4 specific types of food that you can get during this time. The first is chimaki. Chimaki is a special kind of mochi that's not made from rice, but is instead made from sweet arrowroot. It's wrapped in bamboo leaves or other really big leaves because it's a very long mochi. Next is kushidango. If you've seen Japanese anime or Japanese movies, have probably seen dango before. Often they are multicolored, but the kushidango are just single colored because they are made with a sweet soy sauce. And if you're interested in trying these out, if you go to Renton, Bellevue, or Seattle, in the freezer section, you can buy these. They're about $5 and you get a pack of, I think, 3 or 4. Next is kashiwa mochi. Kashiwa mochi is regular mochi and it's wrapped in an oak leaf. Sometimes the oak leaf is pickled, sometimes it's not, but I would recommend that you don't eat the leaf. You can buy a pack of these. I think it's 5 kashiwa mochi for about $5, again in the freezer section, usually right next to where they have the kushidango. If you can't find it, just ask an employee and they can help you. And the last one is another mochi, but this mochi is folded to make it look like a samurai helmet. So that is the food for Kodomo no Hi in Japan. Next, we're going to listen to a story. Before you listen to the story, though, make sure you review the vocabulary because the vocabulary is going to make it a lot easier to understand this story. はい、じゃあ、またね。